Welcome to part 9 of Data Protection Compliance course. In this part, we will discuss the lawfulness of data processing. If you have not watched the previous parts, I would request you to please go and watch. And in the part 1, we discussed the course overview, and in the part 2, we discussed different key concepts and importance of the data protection. And data subject was discussed in part 3. In the part 4, we discussed data controller and processor, and then we moved on to discuss the data processing. Different forms of data processing were discussed. Part 6 was related to the personal data processing, and we discussed principle 1, 2 related to the data processing. Then we discussed the principle number 3 and 4. Then we discussed the principle 5 and 6 related to the data processing. And now we are going to discuss the lawfulness of data processing. This course is for educational purposes and this is not designed for any specific country or organization or institution. So please take it for educational purposes only, and when you are going to work in a professional organization like financial institution, you would be required to have the strong understanding of the data protection concept. So this course is designed for that purpose, to educate you in this particular regulatory compliance domain. So, when we talk about the lawfulness of data processing, data subject consent should be involved. Data subject was discussed in the previous videos, but now, as we are moving forward to conclude this course, let me remind you what is data subject. Data subject is an individual to whom the data belongs, like for example, the individual customer of the organization. So, the data should be provided only in cases where there is a consent of the data subject. Data cannot be shared with any organization or institution for any lawful purpose unless and until the consent element is there. This is the broader consent related concept I mentioned here. And again, this is not for any specific organization or institution or country. This is just to provide you the knowledge of the consent. To perform a contract, like for example, uh, to which data subject is a party, data subject should be the party of the purpose for which the data would be provided to the data controller. Data controller means the organization that is collecting the information from the data subject. So you might think of opening of your bank account, and when you go and open the bank account, then you have the contract with that particular bank in the form of account opening process that you follow, and you have to fulfill the obligations prescribed by the bank, and you give the consent to the data that you have provided the correct information, and you are sharing for account opening purposes. So your consent is involved and there is a contract between the parties, like for example you and the bank in the case of account opening. And legal or a law obligation should be involved, like for example the right of the data subject for the data protection is always there as per law. So the data controller and the data processor who are collecting and processing the information of the data subject are obliged to follow, or are obliged to follow the legal provisions that are applicable, and therefore legal or law obligations are always there. So, lawfulness also prescribes the protection of interest of the data subject, as we discussed above. So, the data should not be misused, should not be communicated for any other purpose unless and until that information is shared with the customer or the data subject. The processing is required by court or a relevant regulator. The matter can be taken to the court if there is any misuse of the data, or if the data subject is not provided with the complete information, or if the data subject's information is leaked or is breached, whatever. So in this particular case, the relevant laws and regulations would be checked by the organizations and individuals. And again, this is not for any specific country or any specific organization. This course is for educational purpose. So you might now be able to think of the lawfulness of the data processing, why the data processing is so critical, why the data collection is so critical, and why this is very important for the data subject to understand why the data subject is sharing his or her information with any organization. So there should be the consent involved, there should be the contract, legal or law obligations are there on the part of the data controller and data processors. Data subjects interest should be protected, and the court might be involved in case of non-compliances. So for that purpose, the relevant local data protection related laws and regulations should be uh, complied with and checked by the relevant subject matter experts. Please subscribe this channel and share this course with your friends and colleagues who are working in the compliance profession or who are going to pursue their career in the regulatory compliance. And you can share this course with the risk management professionals as well, those who are working in the internal controls area, regulatory compliance, anti-money laundering, data protection compliance, and different other compliance domains like operational risk management. So please like this video as well and share this video, and that would be support, and I would be feeling motivated when I will be uploading the next parts of this course. So thank you very much. If you have not watched the previous parts, I would request to please go and watch all those previous parts in which we discuss very important concepts, and we discuss the broader complicated and obligatory requirements that are applicable on the data subject, data processor, and data controller. We discussed the principles from principle 1 to principle 6 related to the data processing, and we discussed the lawfulness, and now we are going to discuss the next part of this course, and that is related to the conditions of data processing consent.